Our speaker today is Valerie Clote, who will be speaking about navigating the new earth, an inner approach. Valerie has a bachelor's degree in geology. From an early age, she was a student of metaphysics and yearned to know more about the mechanics of the natural world and reality. Currently, she enjoys combining her interests in yoga meditation, spirituality, and laughter yoga. Since 2011, after experiencing the power of play through the unconventional activity of intentional and unconditional laughter as exercise, an entirely new world opened for her. As a newly published author, she shares playful deep breathing activities in her first book, Happy Breathing. Do you have it?
I did not bring it.
She didn't bring it. No. Where do we get Happy Breathing?
You can get it at Sid's and at other places around town. Let's see, what is it?
Take it away, Valerie.
Everywhere. Yeah, everywhere in town. Thank you so much. This is really exciting for me to be back. And because last time I had so much fun. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, great. I had so much fun last time about a month ago speaking on earth energies, ley lines, and the current times. So if you remember, if you weren't here, I spoke about my personal experience with ley lines and about some of my personal background since I was a child having to do with the shift that we are in now. So giving that presentation was such a healing experience for me, I have to share. I was finally able to give voice to my 3 different awakenings from my inner child, 5-year-old inner child, my 15-year-old, and my archetypal young adult maiden, all having to do with this shift. So I was finally able to give voice to this information that I had as a child. So I really want to thank you for that. And I wanted to share how synchronistic and supportive the universe really is. In January, when I did speak, that was the first time I had ever done anything like this, and I loved it. So I wanted to speak again, and several people were interested, had asked me about that. So the next morning, I was showing someone how to access the replay from the Unity website. And there it was, I was scheduled again for today, February 26th, already with a title. So that title was "The Universe is Conspiring to Support Us and Magic is Real." So how interesting is that? No one had consulted me, it was just posted. So come to find out, it was a different Valerie that was scheduled to present. So it was a mistake that my name and photo were there, but I suspect that was her title. And so I do hope we get to hear her speak soon, either on that or something else. So last time I spoke on vibrations, frequencies, and harmonics, mostly having to do with earth energies and then also with laughter. This time I would like to extend some of these concepts into more of an everyday practical application of how thinking in terms of frequencies can be applied to assist us with navigating these times of increased energies. And for the most part, this is really just an introduction of what some of my perspectives are and some ideas and options to investigate for yourself if you haven't already. So this information may not be new to all of you, but I do hope to give it a slightly different insight or perspective. So I also wanted to share an update about the possible gathering at the nodes that I spoke of last time. It seems we may have an alternative route up to 2 peaks, and so more on that later. And at the end, I would love to have people share anything they want to about what they have been experiencing during these times. If it's been easy and not much changes have been happening for them, and they don't really know anything is going on, or if there have been a lot of issues being raised to heal. So I think sharing your thoughts and experiences and ideas about what is going on at this time would be really wonderful to hear and helpful to everyone. And in essence, so what does this time period mean for you, if anything? For me, it means opportunity. Opportunity to let go of patterns and programming that do not resonate with these new high vibe energies. To live into new patterns of being that harmonize with my internal truth. To live more fully conscious, authentic, and unified within. So personally, I do love to live on this bridge of science and spirituality. As new understandings of quantum mechanics and the holographic universe become more absorbed by mainstream society, the Western world now has some tools in which to fully accept some of the wisdom that the indigenous peoples knew and have been living and practicing all along. So this is where I love to live, this crossroads of science and spirit, and understanding the mechanics of how things operate. So these are where my concepts come from. It may be a different way of looking at the world for some of you. And I like to get as fundamental as possible, because when you can access the cause, the rest can fall into alignment easily. So that means approaching this subject from the concept of energy. We are literally energy beings that are immersed in and part of this universe. The universe is interactive. And as the other Valerie's title of her canceled talk is conspiring to support us. So how about instead we begin to think that everything is here for us? Some of you may already live in this manner, but it's a very different way for me thinking about the world from how I was brought up to believe. So it's a real shift in mindset and perspective. Everything is here for us, and attitude is everything. So the universe is alive and interactive, and if we want to communicate with it, we need to find common ground. This common ground for communication with the universe is energy. It's the language of the universe. And this language is made from vibrations and frequencies, much like music. Only the frequencies that create this language for us individually are internal and come from our state of being and perspective, a feedback loop system on the microcosm level. Our state of being is created from our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, which have now been researched to confirm that indeed these internal processes do have an effect not only on ourselves and the health of ourselves, but on the world around us. And of course, then our words and actions come into play. This is why alignment within is so important from our very own foundation. We send out information and receive information via frequencies. We are already doing this. These are the times to do it consciously and with creative purpose. This time period we are in seems to be a wake-up call to those who are still asleep, and to those of us who are awake, a window of opportunity to use this acceleration for creative purpose. Generally speaking, an idea that works for me is that state of being sends out, perspective and beliefs filter the information coming in, which is still part of your state of being, but it's important to realize that it's your interpretation and response to the information that create the next communication with the universe. So you always have choices. We are quite literally a transducer, which means we convert one form of energy to another. For example, our ears convert sound frequencies into music, speech, or noise via a neural electrical signal. And Dr. Joe Dispenza has done a lot of work along these lines, using the energy centers of the body in meditation, communicating with the quantum fields. This brings up the importance of brainwave states as well. At the normal beta brainwave state, we do not have much influence in reprogramming our internal system. So that is why it's important to at least induce the alpha brainwave state, which is relaxed awareness, And you can do this by music and sounds such as binaural beats to entrain our brains to alpha brain and theta. But we can instantly shift to the alpha brainwave state by choice. One such method is by using the open focus tool. This was first scientifically measured by Dr. Les Beeman from Princeton University by shifting attention from a narrow focus beta brainwave state, which accelerates stress and anxiety, to an open focus, which allows alpha brainwave states to instantly kick in. One way of doing this is to include the peripheral vision. Another way is to focus on the space between things, such as when you're meditating, you can focus on the space between your eyes. This is another tool that Dr. Joe uses, and it happens instantly. Yoga Nidra is an ancient practice of a guided meditation that also uses this concept. Yoga Nidra is especially useful in resetting the central nervous system. So just by becoming more aware on the conscious level of what we are communicating to the field helps us to navigate these times in a more empowered way. Now, according to physicist Ms. Van Harriman, who is developing the unified field theory, he says we live in a feedback loop system, a feed forward and a feedback loop system. In other words, the age-old verbiage of what you put out is what you get back, or in New Age is the law of attraction. And as the title of a book written many years ago, As a Man Thinketh, by James Allen also resonates with this idea. And of course, in Miracles discusses these concepts as well. So this is not a new idea. What is perhaps new are the amount of people that are waking up to and embracing this way of consciously and authentically operating within the world. And we are beginning to understand the mechanics of how all this operates. No longer are we victims of the world we see, but we can choose differently by communicating to the world we see via a shift in frequencies and our state of being. This also communicates a shift to our subconscious, which carries out the instructions. This is why awareness of self-talk is so important. Unity itself is based on New Thought. It was created around the 1900s by Charles and Myrtle Filmer. Myrtle healed herself of lifelong ailments through the power of prayer and affirmation. And so while the name of Unity still sits here, I wanted to take a few minutes of what I discovered on the Unity website. The 5 principles of unity and how they correlate to this discussion. These are ancient universal principles taught by unity. Number 1, God is everywhere and always present in every circumstance. This divine energy underlies and animates all of existence. So for today's discussion, this translates to energy or divine energy. The quantum field source. Number 2, human beings are innately good because they are connected to and they are an expression of spirit. For today's discussion, this translates to communicating from internal frequencies or state of being. Number 3, our thoughts have creative power to influence events and determine our experiences. For today's discussion, this translates to us being a transducer and understanding that we live in a feedback loop system. Number 4, prayer and meditation connect and align us to our own spiritual nature and to God. For today's discussion, this translates to communication to the universe via alignment of frequencies, which equals a coherent signal. So number 5, it's not enough to understand spiritual teachings. We must apply our learning in all areas of life, incorporating them into our thoughts, words, and actions. For today's discussion, this translates to conscious awareness and practical application. I lived in Santa Fe for about 2 years, and I went to Gangaji there. And just as you drive out of the drive, there's a sign that says, where the rubber meets the road. And now I really get it. So I'll also give you an example of how powerful our thoughts really are. I got shingles about the time when I first moved here, and I had to go to the herb store for some healing herbs. I was driving back home, and the pain flared up intensely. It was on my upper right chest area and on my shoulder. So as I'm always doing internal work, when I first got the shingles, I began to realize that my shingles had to do with anger. So driving back, I realized I must be having some anger issues activated. So what if I can change my thinking? Since I didn't have a specific thought to think, or a mantra, or an affirmation, I had to think of something, and something quick. That was the opposite of anger. So I just repeated, nice thoughts, nice thoughts, nice thoughts, nice thoughts. And I was amazed. The pain went away instantly. So it wasn't a specific nice thought, just nice thoughts, nice thoughts, nice thoughts. And I did that all the way home. So that is just how interactive this universe really is. Last time I introduced geobiologist Rory Duff's work in establishing evidence about this very real frequency-based shift that we are going through with his measurements of ley lines. We have been gearing up for this for some time. The harmonic convergence in the 80s made them one of the earliest global recognitions of planetary alignment and peace initiatives through global meditations. Then there was the date of the Mayan calendar, the end of 2012. Though the majority of people didn't experience any major changes with these celestial events, it nonetheless did have an effect on the subtle energetic level. It takes time for these subtle energies to manifest in the physical, and that is what we are experiencing now. There's also an acceleration in the process, a collapse of time. So now that we are in the midst of these changes, how can we best navigate these shifting terrains? The best way I know how to navigate the external world is to navigate the internal world. To become more aware is the first step. And we have a feedback loop system at our fingertips that is constantly on. Everything we experience extends from our state of being and our perspectives. It's a constant exchange of information from us to the quantum field and back again. I am reminded to bring up Sir Dr. David Hawkins' work, specifically having to do with states of being and his map of consciousness. These states of beings were denoted primarily as emotional states and were given a relative rate of vibration to each other. For example, peace was the highest on the list, only to be exceeded by enlightenment. Peace was correlated to the emotion of bliss, laughter, exercise, even. And enlightenment was correlated to the emotion of ineffable, which means too great to be expressed in words. I suppose awe would be a good substitute. At the bottom of the list are shame and guilt, for example. Humiliation and blame are the emotions related to these states of being. So this means becoming aware of what we put out into this information field on a more consistent basis. And I think most everyone here already operates at a very conscious level already. But practice and repetition is what helps me. And don't forget, neutral is good. It incorporates the emotion of trust, and the process is release. Neutral is the dividing line between the upper emotional states and the lower emotional states on David Hawkins' chart of consciousness. This, of course, integrates the middle way of the Tao. So one need not be in a state of bliss all the time if you don't want to be. So I believe that we are given this time in history and access to these high vibe energies to emerge what many may term the new human. Barbara Marx Hubbard talks of the concept of birthing of humanity. Jean Houston speaks of the possible human. David Hawkins brings up Homo spiritus. Thank you. And there are other terms that have been used for this new human evolutionary stage. And then there's talk of oneness. It's within the individual in which oneness occurs. As each of us unify with ourselves, this will naturally be reflected in the outer world. When everyone is aligned within themselves, they automatically fit into the whole, right where they're supposed to be energetically. And I can give you an example of what Rory Duff experienced at one of his gatherings at his node at Home Nodes. Each person was to stand at what they thought was the center of the node. What ended up happening was that the group of people created a circle. They each aligned energetically to what their own energy system was communicating, and then through the individuals collectively created unity. The universe is a self-organizing system if we can release what needs to be released at this new level of energy. Reorganization can then take place. I mentioned before that the only pain to change was when there was resistance. So I believe change is what we're being called for on an individual level and collectively. Change on the collective will automatically take care of itself as individuals change. So these are really exciting times, something to embrace instead of resist. And sometimes easier said than done. So here are some basic tools in which to explore inner navigation and shifting. And again, these may not be new, but perhaps you may have a deeper or different understanding of them. So of course, something I haven't mentioned yet is the HeartMath Institute with heart-brain coherence breath. We have learned that heart intelligence is far superior intelligence in which to live your life. It's within the heart and the brain connection that should move forward. So a slow, deep breath of 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out will entrain your heart to a more coherent state of 0.1 hertz. So this helps to learn how to listen to intuition, and developing intuition and listening to this intuition is critical for these times. Open focus to bring an immediate alpha brainwave state, a relaxed awareness, internal alignment with the change in thought, laughing or giggling or smiling in itself. Change and smiling in itself changes the neurology immediately. So there's a chemical shift increasing dopamine and serotonin, which are both real good hormones as you smile. Maybe you have some other tools that are your favorite tools to shift your state of being. Before we step into sharing experiences, I wanted to say that I met someone who lives at the base of 2 peaks. So in spring, I'll investigate further as if we might gather a group of interested people to join up at the node where Rory suggested. And I also suggest that we can meditate on these new earth frequencies on our own or in groups of a small number of people right where we are. The nodes are an area where energies are amplified. So we would be better able to sense these energies on site. But meanwhile, we do have access to them here and now. It's a matter of tuning in. We are literally immersed in and bathed in these frequencies right now, everywhere. So for example, right now, I can guide you into learning how to listen to silence if you like, if that's okay with everyone. So begin by closing your eyes and allow a deep breath through your body. Lay on a soft side. Listen to the most distant sound that you can hear. Imagine something outside, maybe a bird, wind. And next, listen to inside this room. Next, listen to your breathing. Continue to listen inner, deeper, a step farther inside. Keep listening deeper and deeper. And just listen to the silence. And in a moment, I will check back in to see what we all experience. And it wasn't very long, but more inside. Take a deep breath. Wiggle your toes and your nose. So for me, if you listen anywhere where you are, there's always an ambient background white noise or hum of some sort. So that's one way you can tune in. And you can tune into different frequencies by sensing. This is a time when we all are becoming more empathic and telepathic and psychic. A Course in Miracles says that the body is the communication device. In the context of this discussion, it communicates via frequencies. In summary, we can begin to sense the world as a sea of interconnected vibrations and frequencies, to begin to expand our consciousness to think quantumly and holographically. There are infinite probabilities at every second. So I would like to close with a playful deep breathing activity to allow all the inner children to come out and play. So let's pretend we're outside at night at a new moon. So it's very dark outside. We can look up at the night sky and see this canvas of black velvet with sparkling white lights. And as we're looking up at the night sky, out of the corner of our eyes, we see a falling star from the left to the right. So with your head and your eyes, breathe in, follow the star, breathe in and awe, breathe in awe. And then watch it fall across the sky to the right. Exhale with wonder and gratitude. And then you see another star, falling star from the right to the left. Breathe in awe and exhale gratitude and wonder. So thanks very much. I so appreciate you listening and giving me this opportunity to share what my heart says. So,
Eddie. Okay. I think. Great, thank you. If it's not there, just somebody put it where it's supposed to go. If it's not showing her, there you go. Okay, you're there. Okay. There we go. Shine on me. Shine on me. Shine on me. Let the light
of the lighthouse. Shine on me, oh, shine on me, shine on me, shine on me. Let the light of the lighthouse shine on me, oh, lift me up, lift me up. Yeah, let the light of the lighthouse lift me up, lift me up, lift me up. Let the light of the lighthouse lift me up, hold me close, hold me close, hold me, hold me. Let the light of the lighthouse hold me close, hold me close, hold me close. Let the light of the lighthouse hold me close, so shine, shine on me, shine on me. The light of the lighthouse shine on me. Shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Singing with Adrian is just kind of bliss. It's just kind of bliss. Jenny. Now we're all going to sing our love song together. Oh, but that's not, forget it. You just got it. Everybody knows the love song. Okay, there it is. Now there is love on earth and it has begun with me. Now there is love on earth, a love that was meant to be. With all our relations, loved ones all are we. Now I walk with my family in perfect harmony. Love has begun with me, and this is the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in love eternally. Now there is love on earth, and it has begun with me. We are the light, the love, and the presence. Wherever we are, love is, and all is well. All you need is love. There is soup and cornbread. There is. By the master chef. Seriously, if you have not had the soup, go have the soup. It's vegetarian. It is awesome. She is awesome. Good soup. And then you can go to the temple and have Indian food and chai. Awesome. Love y'all. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
We have Chris Pieper next week. Talking about interesting things. So come on back.
Did they get recorded? Because
Yes.
Oh, good.
It's recording.
Okay.
It is. It's recording.